Time for another episode of Therapists Gone Wild. And today's episode is in response to the question, can a therapist and client ever become friends after the therapy relationship? And while I never want to speak in absolutes, I'm going to share with you why it can sometimes be an issue. See, in this case, we have a therapist-client relationship that lasted for about a year and a half. And already during the therapy, there were a few red flags. In particular, the therapist and client would exchange text messages in which the therapist would often share their own life worries and concerns. And these included complaints about their financial situation, resulting in the client giving gifts to the therapist and the therapist's child. As many therapists know, we have to be very careful if and when we accept any kind of gift because of how it can impact the therapy. And shortly after the therapy ended, maybe a month or two later, the client continued to provide gifts to the therapist that were well beyond what anyone would deem reasonable, including expensive spa stays at the Hotel Bel Air and expensive purses. In the months that followed, these gifts ramped up, including just direct cash payments and use of the patient's credit card at the therapist's discretion. When the patient eventually became uncomfortable with this and canceled the credit card, the therapist responded by texting the patient complaining about their own emotional difficulties, talking about the client's unresolved issues, and complaining about the potential concerns to losing their license as a result of the relationship. At that point, though, the damage had already been done, with a total estimate of financial output to the therapist from the client exceeding $128,000. Needless to say, this therapist's license has been revoked. If you have any questions about the case, post them in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next episode of Therapists Gone Wild.